Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Adrian. Today I'm going to be reviewing Zombie Reign, which is a modern day ShadowDark setting in the zombie apocalypse. Now, I have played this. We did a live playthrough on my other channel, which I'll put a link to at the end of the video. So if you want to go and watch me pretty much get murdered at every sort of stage. But yeah, this is modern day, so think Walking Dead, that sort of era with a zombie apocalypse. There are new classes in here. There are specific rules for things like headshots and instant kills. Obviously you're going to get your slow mutation rules, so if you are actually sort of catch the contagion and turn into a zombie, there is a diner sort of little adventure in here where you're going to need to try and survive for as long as possible. But more importantly, it comes with a 0 level gauntlet right at the end. And it does something really interesting with, because obviously this is a very human centric world, as you'd imagine, and if you want that second talent, that free talent you get as a human, you're going to have to take a floor. So it is going to be a little bit harder. As ever with all these videos, I'll take you over to DriveThruRPG to show you where you can pick it up. So currently it is only available as a PDF. Obviously print on demand will be coming at some stage. I believe it's probably going through the sort of Kickstarter fulfillment and at some stage, so obviously this will be coming out, but it's 140 pages, so it's pretty big. Comes in at $15 US. I don't know why this is in US dollars prices today, which I think that comes in, I think I paid £11.50 UK pounds, somewhere around about there. Obviously, if you are going to pick this up, please do consider using my affiliate link. For full disclosure, I wasn't sent this. I actually used my affiliate link money to pick this up. When you do pick it up here, you're going to get this zip file. So it does include all the maps for all the adventures you can throw in. So it's written by Dean Lucius of Angry Engine Game. Right, let's get into this apocalypse. Now, the artwork throughout is amazing, and it's amazing for a reason. We'll come on to that once I reveal the artist. He is also on my Discord, but yeah, you're going to get to see this throughout. So here we go. Dean Lucius is the writing and layout, and the artwork, well, majority of the artwork is written by another one of my friends, Rob McNeil, which is great to actually see. He's a fantastic tattoo artist here in the UK, and he does and sells additional art, which is it's just fantastic. Okay, so we're going to get straight into the content. So we're going to get the introductions, we're going to talk a little bit about the setting, then straight into character creation, equipment, the outbreak, how it happened, adventure hooks. There's an absolute ton of random tables in here. Just over 30 pages of creatures, infected animals, and standard, like normal animals. 3 factions, always love an odd number of factions, because then you can kind of play them off each other. The game mechanics, there's about 3 or 4 pages of there. Downtime activities, and then we're going to get some scavenging rules, scavenging tables, some quality gear tables, the diner adventure, character sheets, and then the last stop, Armageddon, which is that 0 level gauntlet. Now, you are going to need a copy of the core rulebook for ShadowDark for this, but obviously you can just pick up the Quickstart Rules, which are available on the Arcane library website or on DriveThruRPG. Obviously, if you've got the core rulebook, you can use that, but if you haven't, all you need is this, and then you can get the free rules to play it through. So the players are going to be a new survivor, and your role, if there is such a thing, is to try and just survive, go out, find resources. The reason for the outbreak is left deliberately vague, and I always like that because that means as a games master you can decide what you want it to be. Do you want it to be, from a technological point of view, supernatural, fungal, toxic chemicals, or extraterrestrial? And remember, before we get into this, so be careful out there and don't get bitten. More amazing artwork here. This guy just sort of looking down. A quote here from Dawn of the Dead, another great zombie film. So the setting, so when the world ended, it kind of happened very fast. Reports of riots, disappearance, of strange deaths, eventually no news at all. And then obviously the power grids failed. And where we are now is what remains is obviously a landscape of rusting steel, crumbling concrete, and reclaimed by the nature and the ravenous dead. Players, say you're not really a hero, you are just someone that is trying to survive. The infected are sort of growing and rising, and they're becoming more and more. There's hardly any military left as well to protect people. There is this FDER, which is the Federal Disaster Emergency Response, tried to stem the tide of the zombie menace but failed miserably. And the survivors that are left are just clinging on to life and scavenging to find whatever they can. So the themes, so just think of every zombie apocalypse movie, TV show that you've ever watched. Everything needs to be scarce. You know, if they're fortunate enough to find a working flashlight, a bottle of antibiotics, make these things really hard to find. Most gear is going to be jury rigged and sort of put together because duct tape, let's go with, is your friend if you can find something. The setting is dark and deadly. Obviously, there's no street lights. You know, as dusk starts to come in, it's going to get naturally darker and darker. But also remember, people are dangerous. So not all allies are survivors. People are going to be, well, going to become very selfish. They might just see something you've got and actually want to take it off you. In that, make all the encounters with other humans incredibly tense. Right, first we need to do is create your survivor. Not a hero, not a character, a survivor. Ancestry is human. Everyone's human. You're going to start with 1 talent at first level. Roll your stats, 3d6 down the line, and then you're going to get a new stat, which is resolve, which is always starting at 10 plus your wisdom modifier. Actually, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to teach you the ShadowDark rules in this. I'm just going to take the assumption that you are fully aware how ShadowDark works. If you're not, I will put my link to my ShadowDark review at the end of this video, as well as the live play. You're going to roll or choose your background. You're then going to decide if you want a floor and roll it. If you do take a floor or roll the floor, you're going to get to have that bonus talent. Choose a class and alignment. Record your abilities, your hit points and your talents, name, descriptor. You're going to start with some initial equipment, and then you're going to choose from a leather jacket, 1 melee weapon, crossbow, sling, something along those lines, and then a pistol or light pistol in there. The 6 stats are exactly the same as ShadowDark: strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. So we've got this new one, which is resolve, which is the ability to deal with stress, pain, and trauma. Say starts at 10 plus your wisdom modifier. Armor class for everyone starts at 10 plus your dex. You will get to add your armor or shields to that if you have any. Some details if you want to do the 0 level character here. So you're going to need that for the gauntlet, and then just how to roll up a first level character, which we've pretty much already covered, but it has got the hyperlinks for backgrounds, alignments, and checklists for character. 20 different backgrounds here. Obviously, ShadowDark are fantasy backgrounds, so we've got 20 here from things like administration, engineer, education. So this is what you did before the apocalypse started. D20 of flaws, so things like you might be addicted to something, claustrophobic. You don't have to take them. You can start with just 1 talent. If you want 2, you're going to be rolling or picking one of these flaws. I say roll it. Always roll it because you don't know what's happened. Right, let's look at the 5 new classes. The first up, we've got the gym rat, the muscled athlete with big biceps. More importantly, bigger than their brains. Armor, all shields, all melee weapons, thrown weapons, light and heavy pistols, D8 hit points. Let's not worry about language, but they're going to deadlift once per day. They may use their strength score to be considered an 18, so +4 for 3 rounds. If they already have an 18, it's going to go to 20. They're a heavy hitter. They gain +1 to attack and weapon damage with a weapon that requires strength, including thrown weapons. And then strong, they have advantage on strength checks, overcoming opposing forces such as grappling, kicking down a door, lifting, and then roid rage once per day, immune to fear and morale checks. And melee attacks are rolled with advantage for 3 rounds. We then get the snake, which is the sort of stealthy, sort of skullduggery, sneaky guy. Weapons, club, knife, short sword, crossbow, light pistol, SMG, light rifle. But they're going to get leather and sports pads for armor, only a D6. Once per day, they can do a dodge, so an attack of your choice that would hit you is just going to miss. Opportunists. If you hit a creature who is unaware of your attack, you may deal extra die of damage. Good news is you're going to get to add an additional dice of damage equal to half your level, rounded down. And then finally, shady. You're adapted criminal skills, so you're going to get advantage on things like climbing walls, fences, sneaking around, lying and deceiving. So that's quite a big sort of criminal area. You then get the sharp-minded nerd. Not many weapons, club, knife, slingshot, leather armor, and a D4 hit points. But 3 times a day, they do get the know-it-all. You can instruct others on the best way to accomplish a task. That's going to make you very popular in the zombie apocalypse. Trivia buff, you have advantage on intellect checks. Student, professional training downtime activity is only 15 instead of a D18. Mr. Fix-It, you have an uncanny knack with all things mechanical and electronics. The craft downtime activity is rolled with advantage. And then finally, mastery. Choose 1 type of weapon, armor or gear. You're proficient with that, and you're going to gain +1 plus half your level on attacks, AC, or checks made with that armor, weapon, or gear. The grifter, the influencer. So this is the charismatic silver-tongued con man. Leather armor, sports pads, Kevlar vests and shields, bows, clubs, knife, short sword, light pistol and shotgun. They get the grift. You have the gift of the gab, giving you advantage on all charisma checks where negotiation, persuasion, subterfuge and intimidation are involved. Soothing words. During any downtime session, you may grant 1 point resolve to any participant other than yourself. Inspiration. Each day, you may inspire others, and you may grant a number of luck tokens equal to your charisma, minimum of 1. Charisma modifier, I should say, to any other survivors apart from yourself. And then taunt 3 times a day. You may make a charisma check, DC 12, and taunt an enemy within near. If successful, you give them disadvantage on attacks against you or your allies. Choose one with the ability. The effect lasts for a D4 rounds and requires your action. And then finally, the scavenger, the sort of fixer survivor, the person that's going out into the wilderness to go and find things. Improvised weapons, clubs, knife, staff, light pistol, shotgun. Armor-wise, leather armor, sports pads and shields. D6 hit points. Scavenge. When you use the last of your consumables that you've carried, you get to roll a D6. On a 5 or 6, you can regain 1 more use. You get jury rig. You can make temporary makeshift repairs or construct a temporary item that you have the materials for in this short amount of time. This works identically to the crafting downtime activity, but only takes 10 minutes to perform, and a safe house is not required. The item will break in a D6 round, so that's such a useful ability. Then hauler. Add your con modifier if positive to your gear slots. Then keen eye once per day. While scavenging, you may roll twice on the scavenging table and choose the best result. That's handy. Variety of different languages you can either roll for. And then we've got the alignment in here as standard ShadowDark core rulebook. So chaotic, lawful and neutral. Right, equipment. So this is a modern day setting. We are going to get more modern equipment. So armor, as you can see, this is how you're going to get your AC up, depending on whether you're going to go with leather, sports pads, Kevlar vests, riot gear. So you can get all the way up to 15, but it will take additional gear slots. Shields as well are going to add to your AC all the way up to riot. So if you went full riot gear, full riot shields, you are going to have an AC of 18. Don't get to add your dex modifier to it, as you can see, but it is going to take up 5 of your slots. Melee weapons, there's still things like axes, but this is going to include chainsaws, but you're going to need fuel for it. But chainsaws do 2d8, which is really cool to see. Staffs, long spears in here. Got some additional weapon properties like auto fire. So you may fire this weapon single shot, burst fire, or auto fire. Auto fire spends 3 rounds of ammo and provides +1 to attack and damage. Auto fire expends 6, 12 or 18, depend on the weapon, and 3 additional attack rolls, but all at disadvantage. So you're going to get 4 attack rolls on there. So the range weapons, we've got things like flare gun in here, heavy light SMG pistols, 50 cal pistol to the 2d8 damage, all the way up to shotguns and automatic shotguns. Weapon mods, I love this. I love the ability to modify a weapon. So you can throw some laser sights in here, put a scope on there. Silencers, either homemade or professional. Only difference is your homemade one is going to break on a critical fail. Details of some grenades in here as well, which is nice to see, including flashbangs as well as incendiary. Newspaper article, I like this. This sort of just discussing sort of doctors stumped by some symptoms and patterns from people. Dated back in 2004, so give you an idea of when it kind of first started. Some basic equipment here, and I love the fact you've got a D100 table in here, because it does mean if you need to randomly roll items at any stage for scavenging, finding or loot, it just gives you that nice easy option in here. We're then going to get the gear descriptors for things like alcohol, caltrops, crowbars, so how everything actually is going to work. And of course, the mandatory duct tape in here. Temporarily fixes broken items for a D6 uses before it breaks again. Lighter to start fires. The cure, I like this one. Experimental drug can cure you of the infection or kill you instantly, 50-50. I think most people will take that chance because, you know, if you have been bit, 100% chance you're going to die unless you use the cure. Details here on vehicles. Now, when you find them, you're going to find out the condition, whether it's burnt out, the engine's destroyed, or if you're really lucky, gas empty tank. So it just means all you need to find some gas, and because it's a 7 and it's a bell curve, that is the one where it's going to come up more often. We've got some AC hit points and the hardness for the hull. And each time a vehicle loses hull points over its hardness rating, you're going to come down here, and once the hull rating gets to 0, you're going to roll on the vehicle damage table. Again, bell curve, so we're going to see more often than not cosmetic damage. Roll that natural 12 though, it's going to explode for a 3d6 damage. We've got handling checks to do your driving checks. It's going to be a DC 12 on dexterity. We have got some modifiers as well if you're trying to do things like 45-degree turns, so with the -1 modifier with every 10-mile-an-hour extra you are traveling. Attacking with a vehicle. When using a vehicle to hit a zombie, person, or another vehicle, you need to make a move through their space and make 1 handling check versus the AC of the target you're trying to run over. Obviously, vehicles do a d6 damage per 10-mile-an-hour traveling. Love it. I love the fact we can do that. And here's the stats for, so we've got sports cars, sedan cars in here. We've got moving box trucks, military Humvees, SUVs, military tanks in here. A little bit of descriptions as well. Right, let's have a look at the outbreak then. So no one knows where the virus came from. Rumors spread that government experiments, medical mishaps, or crashing meteor, or even biblical prophecies were the cause of it. So the games master is going to determine when the outbreaks start in advanced stages, and each stage after the initial outbreaks adds the modifier. So if we're going to go through the stage, so of the initial outbreak stage, the virus turns humans into mindless, ravenous cannibals. The virus is transferred through bites, infections, DC checks are 9. At stage 1, you can add +10 to the encounter tables, and the infection checks are a 12. Stage 2, the virus jumps to mammals, add +20 to the encounter tables, infection checks now are at 15. Finally, stage 3 is +30 to the encounter table rolls, and the infection is 18. And the virus has jumped to all types of animals. We've got an adaptation table here, a D20 table of some mutations that can take place, including stench and tentacles. Okay, the anatomy of the infection. Zombie bites location. Bites equal infection. After the encounter is over, roll to determine the location of each bite. There's different rules for whether you are stood up or lying down, but I like this. So you could potentially, you might be able to, if quick enough, be able to lop off said appendage to try and help the host, I guess. And a couple of other random tables here. So the outbreak, if you need to randomly roll for what caused the outbreak, or also whether you want zombies to be living or actually undead. Okay, so the important bit, infected characters. When a character is bitten, the clock starts ticking, and how that character may spend their remaining time is up to the player. You as the games master should encourage them to lean into the drama and make these final sessions count. Do they sacrifice themselves? Do they go out in a blaze of glory? Or do they fight to find a cure? Death is inevitable, obviously, in the zombie apocalypse. When a character dies, the games master has a few options to bring in a replacement for the group. Do you bring them in the same level? I always do, 1 level below, or just first level. It's really up to you how you play that. I'm a fan of not penalising someone for death. I like deaths to be quite epic, but then you kind of give the player the same opportunity to come back in. We've got a D100 table here for virus encounters. These aren't just necessarily all creatures. Some of them are DER agents. So yeah, feral dogs, shamblers in here. So yeah, different things. It goes up to 130 just because of that stage section in there. So it's still a D100 table. It's just going to depend on what stage you're at. D100 table of adventure hooks. Search the derelict casino boat docked in the pier for food and supplies. And then a random adventure generator, as well as another newspaper article in here. Apocalypse locations. So things like sporting goods store, libraries, and the development that's going on. So is the building flooded? Is it immaculately clean? That would be really weird, wouldn't it, in an apocalypse? We're now going to get to those sort of 30-odd, I think it's nearly 40 pages of creatures. So we've got some alternate zombies here. So we can go down the 28-day later ones, or armored zombies. So we've got things like shamblers. And as you'd expect, they're going to have the basic descriptor. Oh, that's rather frightening looking art down there. So it's a basic shambler, slow moving, shambling zombie that hunts in mobs. AC 8. I remember that. I remember it being surprisingly low to actually hit them, because you think, oh, I've probably missed. They go, nope, only 5 hit points here. Obviously, they've come, nearly everything is going to come with this infection. If bitten, con check or 1d con damage. It's going to have a grab attack plus 1 bite attack. If bitten, con check plus a d4 con damage. Repeat check once per day. That's mean. No con loss on a success, but infection continues. Submit to virus at 0 con and rises the infected a d6 turns later. We've got some infected over here, walkers. We then get the adapted. So at stage 1, they're going to be a little bit more powerful. So as you can see here, hit points have suddenly now jumped up to 11. So we're going to get the bloated, the brainiac, and the grabber, leaper, and lurker. The really weird mutated mounded. So several undead mounded have combined together into one large monstrosity. Going to run on multiple legs. We've got a ravager here, a reaper, a runner. Always the worst type of zombie. I'm sure we had a runner in the game because they would suddenly just... They were just just on top of us. We were expecting them to sort of like shamble in, and then sort of from nowhere, these runners jumped us. The splitter, which is, spits out acidic fluids. Spotter, and then a tank. The infected animals, I don't like this. So it's stage 2. It's going to jump into the animal kingdom as well. So we got like this giant bear in here. Infected cows, deers, large dogs. This gorilla, which is some of the best art. Oh man, that raccoon, that's new as well. That's really cool. Oh look, emancipated sort of looking rotting tiger. That's hideously scary. We've got some infected templates. So if you want to adapt anything or any other creature, you can just move them. So if they've got 1 hit die, here's the changes you're going to have to their stats. And if they've got less than 1 hit dice, you're going to be slightly less powerful, but obviously both are going to come with the infection on there. Then at level 3, we then get adapted animals. So infected animals become adapted animals, becoming more monstrous. So we got like this death cat here, the Grod, a hyper-intelligent, telepathic zombie gorilla. A murder of crows. Ursomorphic, which is going to be some sort of bear creatures, isn't it? Huge undead, mountain, bear, bird, and man. Normal creature stats, if you, well, you're going to go hunting, aren't you, if you need to sort of feed. And then finally, before we get into some of the unique NPCs, we've got 2 pages here of human monsters, or people that might help you necessarily. You might need stats as Games Master for a scientist. 4 unique NPCs here. We've got Einstein, Dr. Emily Scott, General Ashford, and Sovereign. I kind of don't really want to spoil them, but what Dean's done is given them all a bit of a background, tied some of them to the factions we're about to look at in a second. But the good thing about those 4 characters is you can easily move those and create adventures around them, or have some of them actually hunting down the party. So let's have a look at the 3 factions. First up, we've got Charlie Company. So this is one of the last organized military forces left after the collapse. Charlie Company believes humanity can only survive through discipline, sacrifice, and order. That's kind of like Matthew McConaughey's character in the way I had that in, was it Reign of Fire? That sort of dragon film based here in the UK. It gives it their details of their mission, their rules of engagement, and the sort of area of the checkpoints. And in the Wasteland, Charlie Company controls checkpoints, convoys, and fortified bases across the Wasteland. We've then got the FDER, which is the Federal Disaster Emergency Response, led by Emily Scott. I probably should have said Charlie Company is by General Ashford again. We've kind of seen him earlier, kind of moved off past them. Their mission is to protect survivors, contain the outbreak, and restore humanitarian aid networks. Then finally, the Wardens. The Wardens are a massive raider faction that believe the apocalypse approved only the ruthless deserve to survive. They are led by Sovereign. Their mission is to conquer territories, subjugate vassals, siege resources. As you can see, all 3 factions, really interesting, comes with their leader. We've got a bonus NPC that we're not going to talk about either, but they're all got their own ideas and own agendas, and it just gives the player characters then choices of which factions they sort of side with or go against. I love opposing factions, and I said, 3's always good. Right, let's look at the game mechanics in here. So we've got a carrier mode. So we've got a couple of different modes we can have. So we've got the carrier mode, so all infecting things are already infected with the virus and will rise infected with 1d6 turns after death, no matter the cause. We've got a gambler mode. You can use a deck of cards for your luck tokens. Quickness mode, where shamblers and walkers do not suffer the slow ability. Scavenger mode, sleeper mode, and infectious mode, which basically obviously means it's going to be a lot more infected, and it's going to be a lot deadlier. Noise, rules specific setting rules. So noise, each round that creates excessive noise, shouting, non-silent firearms, roll a random encounter to check if the noise has attracted anything. Headshots, so you can call for a headshot which will permanently kill a zombie. All you need to do is make an attack at disadvantage. If you succeed, bear in mind they're only 8. Remember the basic zombies, 8 AC. It's not too difficult to get that headshot off on the basic one. Then we've got a fear mechanic. Game Master may request a character make a DC 12 wisdom check or suffer disadvantage on all actions when they're overcome with fear. Some creatures always cause fear. Resolve. So this is that new stat right at the start. Resolve attacks your mental well-being. All characters start with a resolve score of 10 plus their wisdom modifier. However, unlike other stats, resolve can go up and down depending on what goes on in the world. So whenever you encounter a truly horrific or heartwarming scene or situation, the games master may call for a resolve check and the DC needed to succeed at that check. Now, there's a positive scene, so something nice is happening. So maybe you might discover a new family, a generous gift, actually find a fully locked and loaded arsenal. Just imagine a gun store that's still rare. If you roll critical success, you're going to get a D4 resolve back. Standard success, only going to get 1, but a negative area. So, you might spot something horrific. I'm not going to talk about that on the channel, but you could, if you fail on that, you're going to roll a D4 and then lose that resolve. Critical, you're going to lose 1d6. Depending on whether you're lawful, chaotic, or neutral, will also affect your resolve checks. And I like that. I do really like that. And when your resolve gets to 0, you are given into despair. You're then going to roll a d20 here on this despair table, and you could end up in nihilistic, the voice of the dead, or even cannibalism. Bear that in mind. Try and keep your resolve together. Next few pages then is just going to explain the game mechanics wise of things like how cannibalism works, nihilism. But again, I think I'll let you discover that for yourselves. Downtime. So in between sort of going out adventuring and scavenging, you're going to want to try and stay in a safe house. Safe house is really because, as it says, it's a safe place to be. So the first thing you need to do is spend the day when you find somewhere fortifying it to get rid of the weak spots. There are no sanctuary. Eventually, all safe houses get overrun by zombie hordes, raiders, or other humans. Don't forget, people are going to want to try and take that safe house from you. The disaster clock is designated at 100. Each downtime session at locations draws the threat closer. At the end of each downtime session, subtract the number of occupants from the location from the disaster clock and then roll a d100. If the result is equal to or above the clock number, disaster is imminent. So, this is going to be quite a while that your base should be safe. But obviously, the more people you get in, the more people you save, the more risks you're going to have. We have 4 different downtime activities we can do. We can decompress, so meditate, prayer. This is a wisdom check, and depending on whether you want to go from 9 all the way up to 18, might give you some resolve, might give you a luck point back. You can do some combat training, which is an intelligence check, which is going to give you some bonuses when the next time you sort of go out to fight. You can do some crafting, so you can repair things off your intelligence, create stuff, get some fuel, create some new ammo. Or craft and repair actually guns, modifiers, and stuff onto the weapons. Or professional training, intelligence check here, DC 18. Learn a new skill from a background or learn a foreign language. Carousing is a good way, obviously, of going up a level and gaining some experience. So as you'd imagine, there is a specific new carousing events in here, as well as some carousing outcomes. Again, I'm not going to give you any examples of those. Saw this hospital artwork because that's where we ended up in the one-shot. Slight spoiler if you are going to watch it. Right, let's look at the scavenging rules. Scarcity. The longer the outbreak contains, the fewer supplies remain. So things will become harder and harder. There's going to be more likely to be empty shelves if they go into any sort of supermarket or shop. Ultimately, it's up to the games master how much loot can be found at specific locations. But depending on the size of the building, counts of cars a building, will just determine how many times they get to roll then on the loot tables. Also, depending on the time since the outbreak started, you can actually reduce the dice modifier down. Once you get to 10 years, -4. So it's going to be, if you think strip more, you should be able to find some things. But -4, even on a house at a D8, a lot more, over 50% of the time, there's going to be nothing there. As you'd expect, the next 6 tables are going to give us some different loot. We had food service loot, and it says at the bottom, so if you're unsure what that would be, so things like coffee shop, fast food restaurants, grocery store, diner, bar, restaurant, tavern, law enforcement, gun shops, military, police station, shooting ranges, crafting for things like auto repairs. So the players can sort of tell you what they're aiming to try and find when they're heading out for loot. And then these like common locations just gives you an idea of what they're going to find. So medical stuff, things like vet services, pharmacies, research facilities. Then we have a miscellaneous one. So if you just need a random table of variety of things with D100, and then last but not least, residential. So this is things like a home, a duplex, hotels. We've got an optional rule here. No optional rules in my world, throw it in. So basically when you roll a 1 on a critical hit or a natural 1 when using any sort of item or any gear, it downgrades by 1 step. Most items would start as standard, and as it goes down to 1 step, it becomes shoddy, and then it becomes either broken on a critical fail or broken, doesn't function at all. Obviously then use that downtime activity to repair it. Repairing broken items restore it to shoddy, and repairing shoddy items or standard items bumps them up 1 step. That pretty much is the end of the book. We've got this diner adventure here, which is a 1-page scenario where the PCs are being chased by a large mob and infected, and the county snack diner is the only shelter in their sight. So yeah, stay in there, border it up, try and survive as long as possible, or break out. We've got the specific zombie rain character sheet here. I'm going to have a slight moan, because I always moan when there are landscape character sheets. But don't worry, the 0 levels, so if you're going to roll for the gauntlet, we have got 4 portraits onto 1. Other than the apocalyptic graffiti that the players are going to see, we've got this Last Stop Armageddon, which is the 0 level gauntlet. I'm not going to sort of go through any of this because it's an adventure, and gauntlets are great fun to play, but I will say, obviously you've got adventures, random tables in here, but more importantly, we have got 4 little maps there, and I'd say you do get the maps when you buy this on drive-thru RPG. And then finally, we got the apocalyptic graffiti in here, so D20 of things just for the players to find written on buildings. This, I'm just going to throw it out there, this is exactly what I was hoping to see, because I don't think I mentioned it, but Dean did send me a early draft of this. I kind of discussed it when the Kickstarter was going live, and I got to look at some of it and some of the rules, and I love the headshot. I love the sort of infected way it works. Yeah, because I'm an animal lover, I don't like that bit with the infected animals and stuff. But this is exactly what I was hoping to see, because I think I got to see about 2 or 3 of the classes. Then obviously when I got to play the game, I did actually get to see and play through some of the other classes. I got to play the gym rat, and well, I'd say the video is going to come up very, very quickly. So obviously, if you want to go and watch that, I would definitely say go and watch it and go and see how it works in action. Dean ran it really well. Obviously, you know, it's his game, so he kind of, you know, very quick with the rules. But this, see, post-apocalyptic settings, I really enjoy. Zombie apocalyptic settings, I enjoy. It's a nice break from just playing constant fantasy. And the good thing is that with this is you've got all the tables in here that you need. So the only thing that you might wanted to see is a sort of designated building table, or what type of buildings, you know, that's actually in there. But for me, because the way that Dean ran it, is driven by the players. You know, the players will tell you, which is kind of how it works in Fallout as well. The players will tell you what it is they want to go and find. So what you then do is look at the loot table, see which items are on which loot tables, and then have them go out and find and scavenge those particular buildings. I kind of enjoyed the Walking Dead, Free League's Walking Dead game, but I'm glad that now this is in my collection, because this is just another beautiful hack. I hate that word, but beautiful hack of ShadowDark, and something that I can play as one shot. You can play this as an ongoing campaign. I'd say this and Atomic Shadows are just 2 really good sort of modern apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic kind of settings that great to see. And I'll let you know once the print on demand is out, because I want a physical copy of this. I think most people will. Obviously, if you are going to pick up the PDF and you just run off PDFs, I said, please do consider using my affiliate link, because, you know, that money, whenever I generate that money, I just then put it straight back into picking up stuff like this, so I can come and read it, play it, and then review it. Obviously, if you're enjoying what I'm building, please do like, share, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.